The most dangerous lie you've ever been told about success is that you need motivation to achieve it. That burning feeling in your chest, that surge of energy you felt on New Year's Day, that spark of inspiration after watching an inspiring video, it's all temporary, and temporary isn't what builds empires. After spending 30 years studying the most successful people across every field, I've discovered something that might shock you. They don't rely on motivation, not one bit. The true champions, the real achievers, they've understood something far more powerful. Last week, I sat with Michael, a CEO who transformed his small garage startup into a $50 million company. Over a simple cup of coffee, he shared something profound. Everyone assumes I wake up excited every single day, he said, looking me straight in the eyes. The truth, some mornings I want to stay in bed just like everyone else. The difference is, I get up anyway. That's the million-dollar secret, hiding in plain sight. The greatest achievers aren't the most motivated, they're the most disciplined. They're the ones who show up day after day, whether they feel like it or not. While others wait for motivation to strike, they're already at work, already in the gym, already building their dreams. Right now, millions of people are waiting for the perfect moment, waiting to feel ready, waiting for motivation to magically appear and transform their lives. But here's what they don't understand, and what you're about to discover. Motivation is like a fair weather friend. It shows up when things are easy and disappears exactly when you need it most. Discipline, on the other hand, that's your loyal companion, ready to carry you through any storm, any challenge, any obstacle. The real reason why some people achieve everything they set their minds to, while others remain stuck in an endless cycle of starting over. And it all begins with understanding why motivation isn't your friend. It's actually your enemy. And every time I step into a corporate office or startup incubator, I hear the same thing. I just need to get motivated. But that's exactly what's keeping you stuck. A remarkable entrepreneur I mentored 3 years ago, when she first walked into my office, she had a brilliant business idea, but was paralyzed by what she called her motivation problem. She'd wake up some days feeling unstoppable, ready to conquer the world. Those days, she'd make 50 calls, send hundreds of emails, network like her life depended on it. But then there were the other days, the ones where she felt nothing, no drive, no energy, no motivation. I just can't seem to stay motivated, she told me, frustration clear in her voice. That's when I shared with her what I'm about to share with you. The problem wasn't her motivation. The problem was relying on motivation in the first place. Every single person you admire, every titan of industry, every peak performer, they all face the exact same feelings of resistance you do. The difference, they've stopped waiting for motivation to show up. The science behind this is fascinating. Your brain is literally wired to resist change. It's a survival mechanism from our ancient past. When you rely on motivation, you're essentially hoping that a temporary emotional state will overcome millions of years of evolutionary programming. That's like trying to stop a freight train with a paper wall. But it gets worse. The more you wait for motivation, the more you strengthen what psychologists call the motivation-dependent cycle. You condition yourself to only take action when you feel motivated. And guess what? Those moments of motivation become rarer and rarer. The last time you felt truly motivated, maybe it was after watching an inspiring video or reading a powerful book or attending a life-changing seminar. That feeling was real, it was powerful, but where did it go? It vanished just like it always does. And there you were, back at square one, waiting for the next hit of motivational inspiration. This is why New Year's resolutions fail by February. It's why gym memberships spike in January and plummet by March. It's why countless brilliant business ideas never make it past the planning stage. Because motivation is a feeling, and feelings are temporary. She discovered this truth the hard way, but once she understood it, everything changed. She stopped waiting for motivation and started building systems. She created non-negotiable daily actions that happened whether she felt like it or not. The result, her business grew from 0 to 7 figures in 18 months, not because she found some secret source of endless motivation, but because she stopped needing it altogether. The real tragedy is that the personal development industry has sold us this motivation myth for decades. They've convinced us that if we just find the right morning routine, listen to the right audiobooks, or attend the right seminars, we'll finally find that endless source of motivation. But it's a wild goose chase. The truth is both simpler and harder. The most successful people in the world don't have more motivation than you do. They simply don't rely on it. They've built something far more powerful, a foundation of discipline that carries them through when motivation inevitably fails. And that brings us to the real question. How do you build that kind of unwavering discipline? How do you create a system of success that doesn't depend on fleeting feelings of motivation? The answer lies in understanding the true power of discipline itself. True discipline isn't what most people think it is. It's not about punishment. It's not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. True discipline is simpler and more powerful than that. It's the ability to do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel in the moment. Every single day, you brush your teeth. You don't wait for motivation to brush your teeth. You don't need inspirational quotes about dental hygiene. You just do it. That's discipline in its purest form. And that same principle can transform every area of your life. Your brain is a remarkable machine, but it follows very specific rules. When you repeat an action consistently, your brain creates neural pathways, like shortcuts, that make that action easier and more automatic over time. This isn't just positive thinking. This is hard science. Every time you choose discipline over momentary comfort, you're literally rewiring your brain for success. I remember working with a top performer in the financial sector. Every morning for 20 years, he woke up at 4:30 a.m. to review market data before anyone else was even thinking about work. One day I asked him if it ever got easier. His response was prolix. It's not about getting easier. It's about the decision being made already. I don't decide to wake up at 30 every morning. I decided once 20 years ago, and I've just kept that promise to myself. That's the difference between discipline and motivation. Motivation requires you to make a new decision every single day. Discipline You decide once, and then you build your life around that decision. It's like laying bricks. Each day, you put another brick in place. Some days it's hard, some days it feels pointless. But the wall keeps growing, brick by brick, day by day. And this is where the magic really happens, the compound effect. Small, disciplined actions, repeated consistently over time, create exponential results. If you improve just 1% every day through disciplined action, you'll be 37 times better by the end of the year. Not 365% better, 3,700% better. That's the power of compound growth. Look at anyone who's achieved extraordinary success. Study their daily habits, not their highlight reel. You'll find discipline everywhere. The best-selling author who writes 1,000 words every morning before the sun rises. The athlete who hasn't missed a training session in 5 years. The business leader who reviews their goals and plans every single evening without fail. These people aren't superhuman. They don't have special powers or endless reserves of willpower. What they have is something far more valuable. They have systems. They've turned discipline into a way of life. They don't rely on feeling good, feeling motivated, or feeling ready. They rely on their systems. A commercial airline pilot, before every single flight, they go through the same pre-flight checklist every time. No exceptions. They don't skip steps when they're tired. They don't wait for motivation to check the fuel levels. They follow their system because they understand that consistency is what keeps the plane in the air. Your success works the same way. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. Motivation might get you to the gym for a week, but discipline is what gets you there for a year. Motivation might help you start a business, but discipline is what builds it into an empire. The beauty of discipline is that it simplifies everything. When you're truly disciplined, you don't have to waste mental energy deciding whether to do something. You don't have to negotiate with yourself. You don't have to wait for the right moment or right feeling. You just execute day after day, regardless of circumstances, regardless of feelings. This is why discipline will always outperform motivation in the long run. Because while motivation is about feeling good, discipline is about becoming great. And greatness isn't built on feelings. It's built on consistent, determined action taken day after day after day. But here's what most people don't understand about building this kind of discipline. There's a price to pay, and that price isn't what you might think. It's not about suffering or sacrifice. The real cost of discipline is something entirely different, and understanding this cost is crucial to your success. The real price of depending on motivation isn't just about missed opportunities or unfulfilled potential. It's far more personal, far more painful than that. Every time you wait for motivation to strike, you're not just losing time. You're losing pieces of your self-trust bit by bit, day by day. Every morning you wake up and tell yourself, I'll start when I feel ready. You're making a subtle but devastating promise to yourself. And every day you break that promise, you chip away at your own self-belief. It's like writing an emotional check that keeps bouncing. Eventually your mental bank account of self-trust goes bankrupt. I spent time with an Olympic gold medalist last year. During our conversation, she shared something that perfectly captures this truth. At 5 a.m. in the dead of winter, she'd dive into a freezing pool. Day after day, year after year, I asked her about those moments when everything in her body screamed to stay in bed. Her response, those moments weren't about swimming. They were about keeping my word to myself. Because if I can't trust myself at 5 a.m., how can I trust myself when I'm standing on that Olympic platform? This is what most people miss about procrastination. They think it's about time management or laziness. But procrastination is really about trust, specifically the trust you have in yourself to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. When you constantly postpone action until you feel motivated, you're telling yourself that your word doesn't matter, that your commitments are optional, that your goals are subject to your feelings. The cost in your professional life is equally severe. In today's fast-moving world, consistency isn't just important, it's everything. Markets don't care if you feel motivated, customers don't care if you're waiting for inspiration. Competition doesn't pause while you're trying to get in the right mindset. Look at any failed business, any derailed career, any abandoned dream. Beneath the surface, you'll almost always find the same pattern, inconsistent action based on inconsistent emotions. Someone waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect alignment of motivation and opportunity, but that perfect moment never comes. The ultimate price of motivation dependency is potential, not just unrealized potential, but potential that's slowly poisoned by regret. Every time you choose to wait for motivation, you're choosing to trust your feelings over your commitments. And your feelings, as valid as they are, make terrible business partners. Right now, someone with less talent than you, less education than you, fewer resources than you is succeeding simply because they stopped waiting to feel ready. They understood that success doesn't care about your feelings. It only cares about your actions. This is the crossroads where every achievement story begins the moment someone decides to stop being a victim of their own emotions and start being the author of their own success story. It's the moment they realize that waiting for motivation isn't just costing them time, it's costing them their future. The good news, this pattern can be broken. This emotional toll can be reversed. But it requires something that might feel uncomfortable at first. It requires building a new relationship with action itself. It requires learning how to build the discipline muscle, one small victory at a time. The transformation from motivation dependent to discipline driven isn't about trying harder. It's about training smarter. Your willpower is exactly like a muscle. And just like any muscle, it doesn't get stronger through random bursts of intense effort. It gets stronger through consistent progressive training. The science behind willpower reveals something fascinating. Your brain has a limited amount of decision-making energy each day. Every time you make a decision, what to wear, what to eat, whether to exercise, you're depleting this energy. This is why even successful people can find themselves ordering takeout after a long day of making important business decisions. They've depleted their willpower muscle. You can bypass this limitation entirely through systems and habits. Success isn't about making the right decision in the moment. It's about making the decision once, then creating a system that makes future decisions automatic. Take your morning routine. Most people wake up and immediately face a series of decisions. Should I get up now or hit snooze? Should I exercise today? What should I eat? Each decision drains their willpower before the day even begins. But when you create a system, when you decide once and stick to it, you preserve that mental energy for what really matters. Start with your environment. Your surroundings shape your behavior more than willpower ever could. Want to exercise in the morning? Put your workout clothes next to your bed. Want to eat healthier? Remove all junk food from your house. Want to read more? Put a book on your pillow. These aren't tricks. They're systems that make discipline automatic. I worked with a struggling entrepreneur who completely transformed his productivity with one simple environmental change. He set up his office the night before, computer open to his most important task, phone in another room, water bottle filled, no doubt. When he walked in each morning, the environment made the decision for him. His productivity tripled in 1 month. The key to building unshakable discipline lies in creating what I call success triggers, specific concrete actions that automatically lead to your desired behavior. Don't rely on memory or motivation. Build external systems that trigger your success habits automatically. Small wins are crucial here. Most people fail at building discipline because they try to change everything at once. They try to go from 0 to hero overnight. But that's like trying to bench press 300 pounds when you've never lifted weights before. You're setting yourself up for failure. Instead, start with what I call the 5-minute rule. Commit to just 5 minutes of your new habit each day. Want to write a book? Write for 5 minutes. Want to build a business? Work on it for 5 minutes. Want to get in shape? Exercise for 5 minutes. This isn't about the 5 minutes. It's about building the neural pathways of showing up. Those 5 minutes often turn into 15, then 30, then an hour. But even when they don't, you're still building your discipline muscle. You're still keeping your word to yourself. You're still laying another brick in your wall of success. The compound effect of these small wins is staggering. If you improve just 1% each day through these small disciplined actions, by the end of 1 year, you'll be 37 times better. Not 365% better, 3,700% better. That's the power of compound growth. Through consistent discipline, your systems need to be specific and measurable. Don't say, I'll work harder. Say, I'll complete 3 high-priority tasks before checking email each morning. Don't say I'll eat better. Say I'll prepare my meals every Sunday for the week ahead. Specificity creates accountability, and accountability breeds discipline. Discipline like a chain. Each small win, each kept promise to yourself, adds another link. Eventually, the chain becomes unbreakable. But it starts with just one link, one small, consistent action repeated daily. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be consistent. Progress isn't made in the moments when everything goes right. It's made in the moments when you stay consistent despite everything going wrong. The real secret to building discipline isn't found in grand gestures or dramatic changes. It's found in the quiet moments when you choose to stick to your system even when no one is watching. It's found in those small decisions that seem insignificant in the moment but compound over time to create extraordinary results. Your discipline muscle is waiting to be developed. It's ready to grow stronger. But like any form of growth, it will face resistance, and learning to overcome that resistance is where the real transformation begins. As you build this discipline muscle, you'll face obstacles, you'll encounter resistance, and that's exactly what we need to address next, how to push through when everything in you wants to quit. Resistance shows up the moment you decide to change your life. It's not personal, it's biological. Your brain is hardwired to conserve energy and avoid change. Understanding this simple truth changes everything. You stop taking resistance personally and start seeing it for what it really is, a natural response that can be overcome. The moment you feel that heaviness, that urge to procrastinate, that voice telling you just 5 more minutes, that's not weakness. That's your brain doing exactly what it's designed to do. But here's what separates champions from everyone else. They expect this resistance. They plan for it. They have tools ready to push through it. 10 years ago, I almost quit everything I'd built. The resistance was overwhelming. Every morning felt like pushing against a brick wall. Until one morning something clicked. I realized I was waiting to feel ready, waiting for the resistance to disappear. That's when I discovered the fundamental truth about resistance. It never goes away. You just get better at pushing through it. Here's your first tool. The instant you feel resistance, count backward from 5. 5, F-O-Y, 3, 2C1, then move, don't think. Don't analyze, don't negotiate with yourself. This small window between 5 and 1 bypasses your brain's resistance mechanism. By the time you hit 1, you're already in motion. But counting down isn't enough. You need a system for those moments when resistance is strongest. I call it the 2-minute start. When everything in you is fighting against taking action, commit to just 2 minutes. 2 minutes of exercise, 2 minutes of writing, 2 minutes of sales calls. What happens next is almost magical. Once you're in motion, you tend to stay in motion. The biggest mistake people make with resistance is trying to eliminate it completely. That's like trying to eliminate gravity. Instead, build systems that work with resistance. Create what I call resistance buffers, predetermined responses to predictable obstacles. When a setback hits, and it will hit, your response determines everything. Most people let a single failure derail their entire system, miss one workout, and they abandon their fitness goals. Miss one sales target, and they question their entire business strategy. This is where understanding the science of habit formation becomes crucial. Every setback is actually an opportunity to strengthen your discipline muscle. When you push through resistance, you're not just accomplishing a task, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're building neural pathways that make future action easier. I worked with a sales professional who transformed her entire career with one simple shift in how she handled resistance. Instead of trying to eliminate her fear of rejection, she created a system. Every time she felt that fear, she would immediately make 5 calls. No thinking, no waiting, 5 calls. Within 6 months, her sales had tripled. Not because the fear went away, but because she stopped letting it control her actions. Your setbacks and failures aren't your enemy. They're your training ground. Every time you fall and get back up, you're not starting over, you're starting stronger. This is why discipline trumps motivation. Motivation disappears after failure. Discipline gets stronger. Resistance is universal. Right now, somewhere in the world, an Olympic athlete is fighting the same resistance you are. A successful CEO is battling the same doubts. A best-selling author is facing the same blank page. The difference isn't in the resistance. It's in the response. You don't have to feel confident to take action. You don't have to feel ready. You don't have to feel motivated. You just have to follow your system, your predetermined response to resistance, your non-negotiable standards. This is where real transformation happens, not in the absence of resistance, but in its presence. And as you develop these tools, as you strengthen your response to resistance, you'll need something else. A clear formula for turning discipline into consistent results. That's exactly what we're going to cover next. The specific actionable formula that turns discipline into achievement. The exact steps that bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Success leaves clues. And after studying the most disciplined achievers across every field, I've discovered there's a formula, a specific sequence of steps that turns discipline into results. This isn't theory. This isn't philosophy. This is a proven system that works every single time it's applied correctly. First, you need what I call your non-negotiable minimums. These are the absolute baseline actions you commit to completing every single day, no matter what. They're not your ultimate goals. They're the daily actions that make those goals inevitable. Keep them small, keep them doable, but most importantly, keep them consistent. Your accountability system needs to be external. Internal accountability, making promises to yourself, isn't enough. You need stakes, real consequences. Find someone who will hold you to your commitments. Better yet, find someone who's already achieved what you're working toward. When you're accountable to someone you respect, your standards automatically rise. The key is measuring the right things. Don't measure your feelings, measure your actions. Don't measure your motivation, measure your output. Create what I call a daily discipline scorecard. Rate yourself not on how you feel, but on whether you completed your non-negotiable minimums. This simple shift changes everything. Take your biggest goal and break it down into daily micro-commitments. Want to write a book? Commit to 300 words daily. Want to transform your body? Commit to 10 minutes of exercise. Want to build a business? Commit to making 3 sales calls every morning before anything else. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to maintain their perfect system forever. That's not how real discipline works. Real discipline includes regular review and adjustment. Every 2 weeks, assess your results. What's working? What isn't? Where do you need to adjust your system? Track everything, not sometimes, everything. Every time, use a simple tracking system. Put a check mark on your calendar for every day you complete your non-negotiables. Build streaks. Those streaks become your motivation. They become proof of your discipline. When you miss a day, and you will miss days, never miss twice, this is crucial. 2 days becomes a week becomes a month, but one missed day, that's just data. Use it to adjust your system, not abandon it. Your micro-commitments should be so small, they almost seem pointless. That's perfect, because you're not building the action. You're building the habit of showing up. You're building the habit of keeping your word to yourself. The actions will grow naturally. The discipline will compound automatically. Create what I call event protocols for every possible obstacle. If I'm too tired to work out, then I'll do just 1 push-up. If I'm too busy for my full morning routine, then I'll do these 3 essential actions. Remove all decision-making from the moment of resistance. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is consistency. Progress isn't made in the moments of peak performance. It's made in those small daily actions that seem insignificant in the moment, but compound over time. This formula works because it's based on human nature, not superhuman effort. It works because it turns discipline from a daily battle into an automatic system. It works because it focuses on actions, not emotions. How to take everything you've learned and turn it into immediate, decisive action. Because knowledge without action isn't power, it's just potential. Right now, at this exact moment, you have a choice to make. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when motivation strikes. Right now, this choice will determine everything that follows in your life. You can walk away from here inspired, feeling good, feeling motivated, and that feeling will fade by tomorrow morning. Or you can make a decision that will change the entire trajectory of your life. A decision to stop relying on temporary feelings and start building permanent discipline. Take out your phone, open your calendar. Right now, create your non-negotiable minimums for tomorrow, not massive goals, not complete life changes, just 3 small actions that you commit to completing no matter what. Write them down. Set specific times. Make them so small you can't fail. When you wake up tomorrow morning, don't check your phone. Don't wait for motivation. Complete your first non-negotiable minimum before anything else. This isn't about the size of the action. It's about keeping your word to yourself. It's about building that first link in your chain of discipline. Think about where you'll be 1 year from now if you continue waiting for motivation. Now think about where you'll be if you complete your non-negotiables every single day for the next year. The difference between these two futures isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't resources. It's discipline. You already have everything you need to transform your life. You don't need more information. You don't need more strategies. You don't need more motivation. You just need to start trusting in discipline over feelings. You need to start keeping your word to yourself. This isn't about becoming someone different. This is about becoming who you already are beneath all those layers of hesitation and self-doubt. The disciplined version of you already exists. They're waiting on the other side of consistent action. 1 year from now, you'll certainly arrive. The only question is, where? Will you arrive at a destination chosen by your disciplined decisions or one chosen by your fleeting feelings? The choice is yours, and the time to make that choice is now. Your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow. Your life changes the moment you stop waiting and start acting. Discipline isn't something you get. It's something you become, one small action at a time.